everybody. So you know me, I like to do a little bit of work. Okay, here's my thought on the whole. So how many homes are we selling a month in Orange County, roughly? How many are selling right now?
Right now, we're 1,600, 1,800.
Cool. Does anyone sell 1,600 homes a month right now? So in my mind, the way I think, is it an inventory issue or is it a market share issue? Market share issue. See, my brain thinks a little bit differently. Now, I don't like low inventory, but until I'm selling 1,600 loans, purchase loans every single month, and my team does quite a bit. We do roughly 300 to 400 a month. It's still not 1,600. And then, of course, you got to take the cash off of that, but you guys don't have to. So I want to go over a few things. I'm not going to give you guys a ton of work. I gave you guys a business plan that sits in front of you. I like things simple, because if they're too complicated, then I find they won't get done. So what I'm going to be focusing on educating this year is I have the blessing to work with real estate agents all over the country and all of you amazing people. And I get to interview the best of the best. And I ask them what they do and how they get their business. So many of the coaches in the core, which is the coaching company that I work with, they're still closing 20 and 40 transactions per month. Now, there's one differentiating factor in their businesses that I keep finding, and it's this key phrase: by referral only. That is it. By referral only. So what I'm going to be focusing on the rest of this year is educating how to create your own inventory. Would everyone like to control their own inventory? That's kind of what we see. These numbers are great. They can look a little bit scary. But when I think about market share and things that we can do to control inventory, I literally have dozens of them. Many of them are things that I do in a buy referral only business. And then I'm going to make sure that I share. You know, one bite of the elephant at a time is super key. But I was sitting there thinking, I realized, well, what's the solution to the inventory problem? Does anyone want to guess? You guys. You are literally the solution to the inventory problem. Ultimately, it comes down to leads. That's all I look for, are leads. People that are looking to buy, sell, or refinance. And I'll show an example of that when we're done. So what I've given you here is this paper. It says 2022 Real Estate Agent Business Plan. This was made by agents for agents. I'm going to go through a few of this. I want you to take this with you and really take your time, and I'm going to provoke some thought as to how to fill it out a little bit. So I'm going to skip to number 2. It says targeted new whales. Whales are people that can refer you at least one closed transaction every single month. Every month, one person referring you one closed transaction. Not very easy, but they are there. So we need to figure out, like, I want you to put, when you're thinking about this and you're writing it down, who are potentially people that can refer you one closed transaction per month. I'll tell you the difference, and the same for me and many others, the difference between you going after those whales is one word. I guarantee it's one word: fear. Fear of not feeling like, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of lack of value. Do you all have those fears at times? I know I do. So that's usually what holds us back. But they are there. So I want you guys to look at that. Staff in 2022. So I'm going to give you guys some numbers. When you go back, you're going to take your net income, because everyone should be doing their taxes. Well, I know this is real estate agents, so it may have to wait till October or so, but I want you to take your net income. Can anyone spend their gross commissions? Anyone spend their gross commissions? No? Okay. So your net income is what matters. I want you to take that net income. How many worked 40 hours last year? 50 hours. 60 hours? No one worked at all last year? Let's just say 50 hours. Because if you're on your couch and you're doing this on your phone and you're responding to text messages and emails, it's working. And if you don't believe me, ask my wife, because she will tell you that is working. Fair enough? So you're going to take your net and you're going to divide it by 2,500. Take your net income, divide it by 2,500, that's 50 hours. If you worked 60 hours, then it's 3,000. If you worked 40 hours, it's 2,000. That is your hourly wage. What you need to start understanding, many of you, is does it make sense if your hourly wage last year was, let's say, $50 or $100 or $150 an hour? for you guys to be doing work at $15 an hour work. No. What you have to start thinking of is it actually costs you money. So if my hourly wage is, let's say, $100, and I'm doing $20 an hour work, I realize it costs me $80 an hour every time I'm doing that activity. I want to start changing the mindset. You're business people. It took me a long time. I've done this 25 years. I've been a businessman for 8, so I can tell you I've done it wrong longer than I've done it right with a lot of help and mentoring. But I think changing the mindset is going to be key. When we think about staffing and understanding, and the great thing about having staff is you get to grow them and then turn them into the next great real estate agent or operations person, depending on what they want to do. So look at the staffing. Maybe you didn't have any, maybe you did have some. Current hours worked, we talk about that. Be honest. I really want you to think about, working and what that looks like. All right? Even if you love your job. Number 6, new systems to be added into 2022 to make work more fun. For me, this is fun. I'm weird. I like to educate people. I like to teach people. I like to hang out with you guys. We get to have some food. For me, this is fun. That could be different. For some of you, door knocking's fun. I don't know. For some people, they do it. They're like, I love knocking on their doors, and they say no, and I get the one that says yes. It's so amazing. So for everyone, it's different. But I really want you to think about fun, because if it brings you joy, are you more apt to do it? Absolutely. I had the opportunity to go across the country, help my mentors, restructure some things for the course, so much so we got it all done until we were left with one thing, and that thing did not bring me joy. So it was part of coming back was because I wasn't going to do things that don't bring me joy and my children. But I really want you guys to understand what your value is and making sure that there are plenty of things that you can do within your business that bring you joy. These are all going to be things that we're going to be talking about very tactically so that you can start creating your own inventory. Number 8, birthday program, and I would add to that an anniversary program. If you do not have a birthday program and an anniversary program, then we're going to add that to this. That is the simplest, easiest way to generate listings and leads. So if you call them every home anniversary and you're offering them a CMA, and if you call them and you're wishing them a happy birthday, believe me, so many people forget their birthday, they wish them a birthday. It does separate you significantly. We're going to be talking about programs like that we use to generate tons of leads. So how many of you all do anniversary and birthday programs? That's phone call, that's gift, that's card, and repeat. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can do a better job. And here's the cool thing is, if I'm referring it to you, you know it's easy because I don't like things that are hard. I like things that are big bang for the buck, impactful, and generate leads that can convert leads. So whether it be a pumpkin patch we do, going on to the next one, current 2020 events and parties. So in 2020, if any of you guys noticed, we do a past client party. We usually like to do one of them in a movie theater. So what did I do when everyone was locked down? Outdoor movie theater. You have to think outside the box. I did not hold the event. And that event generates enough leads per event to cover my client parties, typically for 5 to 10 years. One party, 5 to 10 years coverage. So it just makes sense to do these things. Whether it's pumpkin patch, movie night, pictures with Santa, barbecue block party, these are the type of things I really want. It's getting in front of people. I would argue that if we go look at the 5 freeway, every single person driving up and down the 5 freeway either needs to buy a house, bigger one, smaller one, needs to stop renting, needs to get cash out, needs to do home improvements. Correct? Every single one needs some sort of a need. They just don't know. It's the education. And I have to remind a lot of you, next to it says real estate salesperson on your license. Agreed? Now, being a real estate expert is super important. I think it's really important to be an expert. But if you take out the salesperson out of it, you can be an expert. You're not going to sell very many homes. It has to be equal parts. So I want us to really think of the different things that we can put in. And then proposed systems and leadership changes is 11 and 12. So when I talk about leadership changes, maybe that person is you. So the biggest growth in my career was hiring leaders other than myself. Some of you know some of those leaders. I will tell you, I'm a pretty darn good leader. I'm better, a bit better than suck. I'm good with finances. I'm good with the P&L. All of these things I was horrible at. I'm not a great manager. I hire great managers. I bring people on that if it's less than what it is my hourly wage is worth, then it makes sense for me to bring them on, and it gives me capacity to do what I do best. What all of you do best are generate leads and negotiate. So generate leads, convert leads, and negotiate. Those are your three money makers. I will tell you now, going to home inspection sometimes, maybe, that's extra customer service. I would argue that you could create a team that is so great at customer service. Would you agree? You go to a Ritz-Carlton, the whole team's on the same page, customer service, customer service. So that can be taught over periods of time. But when it comes to, if you had to just stick with just the three things to make money, that true hourly wage is worth, it's negotiating contracts and it's generating and converting leads. Fair enough? So that's all we're going to focus on. So when you guys see these classes, I'm telling you, bring these with you. I'm going to have more with it, but I am creating so much content that you can implement one at a time, these systems, because it just works. I promise you it works. And I'll bring in some guest speakers and stuff like that as well. Fair enough? Cool. So I'm going to go over this because value reiteration is key. In a low inventory market, how is it that I'm still closing lots of deals? This is how, and I need to do a better job on communicating it, but it's got to be value reiteration. Now, many of you will ask me if I can still do this stuff, and I've done this stuff for a long time. Do you see how important value reiteration is? And do you think that you could probably reiterate your value to your clients more and past clients more? Because it's not their job to remember. It's not your guys' job to remember. It's my job to remind you, and then it's your job to give me the business. Fair enough? All right, so let's start. Everyone pull out this stop sign. I created this to go on top of every pre-approval because I needed everyone to stop, and including the listing agent, because it just depends what listing agent's on the side and what buy side's on the side. Number one, we need to confirm all of these things before making an offer. Number one, confirm the client qualifies for a quick close guarantee to the seller with $500 per deal. So every deal I can, 99%. But I will tell you, every deal I can do it depending on the status of the underwriting, like a complicated jumbo type stuff. $500 a day guaranteed to the seller that I will close that loan on time. If that's not being put in the contract every single time, then you're giving yourself less of a chance of getting the deal. Number two, confirm the client qualifies for a $5,000 pre-approval promise to the seller. I offer $5,000 in addition to the EMD that my pre-approval will close no matter what. That's from me to the seller. So if you're not putting that in there, again, we're trying to emulate the cash offers, and we're also trying to give the most amount of confidence to the seller to take that. What I found over the years is putting your money where your mouth is the best way to do it. In my business, there's lots of talkers, but unfortunately, 60% of transactions, mortgage transactions, go awry. It just happens. There's things that can happen. So if it does, should we not be held accountable as mortgage lenders to do that? I think so, but that's not normal. Number three, confirm the client qualifies for a shortened contingency period or loan contingency removal. I will tell you, many of my partners, we do 0 loan contingencies. I'll get it all done up front. It doesn't take me but a day to get it underwritten up front. All my docs, funding, underwriting, processing are all there, so why put a loan contingency in there? You can have inspection contingencies as well as appraisals. My appraisers have worked on my panel. I can't pick who to work with, but I get to pick my panel. They've been on there for 15 years. They have service level agreements that guarantees me a 24 to 72 hour turn time on every appraisal. And they did it for the past 2 years because they know years like this come and they need that business when the refis go away. Fair enough? The deposit protection plan, confirm the client qualifies for a deposit protection plan. When I do a pre-approval and I tell you to release loan contingencies, I'll cover the deposit up to $100,000. Now, if I'm willing to do that, should that not give additional, obviously confidence to your buyers, but shouldn't that give confidence to your seller as well? Go, listen, this guy is going to cover the deposit. We're releasing loan contingencies. He's going to give you $5,000 and $500 a day. If you're lucky, I'll be 4 days late so you can go to Maui. But I don't want that to happen. Fair enough? Cool. Second to last one. Confirm the 30-second video and call from our team to the listing agent selling our client. This is so important. I don't know when you're submitting offers. If you let us know when we're submitting offers, we're going to get on the phone with the listing agent. We are going to sell the heck out of that client for you because we understand their financial picture and we know what it sounds like. We closed 3,600 transactions last year. 400 were my personal production. And so we make a lot of those calls. We know what to say, what not to say, how to say it to make sure that the seller feels confident. And or if we can't get a hold of them, we'll send them a little video, just scooping that up, not giving any personal information, but giving them that confidence. This is something most people don't do, but it's really important to get it. And then the last one is confirm all aspects of these options are in the sales contract and that you review them with the client before it's sent to the seller. Going over all of these, because some of these, you have to talk to them about, well, why be so aggressive? Why do we have to be so aggressive? Where you're like, well, do you want a house? Yes. Okay, then we're going to have to be more aggressive. Here's what happens. If we're not aggressive going right out the gate, the seller wants their money, correct? Well, for 60% of all of your clients, I carry that money. So it's really, really important that as much confidence goes there as possible, and that the buyers also know that I'm protecting them as well. I'm not trying to tell them to go super aggressive and not protecting them, but it's really important. If we're going to get at-bats, because there aren't as many at-bats right now, then we need to make sure that we're structuring these deals really, really well and really, really aggressive. And if you're not sure, just pick up the phone. I will tell you, if it's a tough deal, I'll say, here's what I think we can do. I'm going to always under-promise and then over-deliver. And you guys are going to push and push and push. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And I will always make sure that I protect because I'm going to protect the relationship and the reputation. Fair enough? I really want us to focus. I'm excited for all being back. I'm super excited. I'm also excited about helping you guys create your own inventory. I truly believe this is going to be the game changer in all of your businesses, and I've seen it firsthand. It's changed my life. So we'll just see you guys at the next ones. Yeah.
You missed the free rent back.
Yes. Oh, free rent back. So confirm the ability to offer a free rent back to the seller at closing. If you guys are going to the seller and you could do a free rent back with financing up to 59 days. If you're buying $1.2 million house and you're charging the seller like per day for the rent, that's silly. Don't do that. Like from a seller standpoint, we look at that and we're like, oh, okay, you're going to charge me nothing, but you want to charge me $2,600. It's stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Give them the rent back for free. If your client really doesn't want to pay for it, call me. I'll give them a lender credit to cover the difference on it. But making sure, because here's why. If I close a loan in 10 to 15 days, I can tell you just from doing it, like it's to get the seller their money quickly, but you want to give the seller time to move, right? So you're like, hey, listen, I'm going to give you your money in 10 days, but don't worry, we're going to give you time to go ahead and move out, take your time and get to where it is that you need to go. So it takes off some of the pressure, and the longer that house is on the market, the more apt it's going to fall out. Yeah.
So we have a couple of issues where we have clients that are willing to put their homes on the market and they don't want to move until June. And most of the buyers, lenders are 60-day rent back and that's it. Is there any program that will go further than that?
Well, the 60-day rent back are all your government issued loans. So that's very, very standard. And so we don't have a choice in that whatsoever. No, and we do, so cross country, I mean, we're huge. I mean, we're a like top 5 mortgage company. We create our own products. We have products that go directly to Wall Street. That's just not something. We're not looking to buy and hold a real estate. If something changes in that period of time with their employment or credit and then we're holding on to that house, it's no bueno. It's no good. It's not worth the risk versus reward. Nope. So we've got to sell them and influence them that if they wait till June, it'll be too late. Yep.
So putting that kind of pressure that they only have 2 months to get into something plus escrow is
I know. I lived in a VRBO for 2 months. It sucked, but it put some pressure on it and I had to get aggressive. I got as aggressive as it took. So I would still be waiting right now for a house, paying 15 grand a month for a VRBO. So listen, I don't hate the player, hate the game, but at the end of the day, these are the things that we need to do to try and get them in their house. And if that means they've got to do a VRBO for a period of time, have that cash or jump on it or whatever they need to do, It's a shame, but it is what it is. Cool? Everyone, hey, did everyone take away at least one thing to make some more money? Now I'm going to teach you. Thank you, thank you. So there is a survey. Want me to teach you a lead generation trick? Cool. There's a survey. On that survey at the bottom, there is the name. I need the name of one person you know that's renting right now, that is in the rent wheel, that's going to be tired of having their rent go up 10% every single year. The other thing is I need the name of someone you really care about that actually already owns a home that could use a look to make sure they're in the right home or the right loan. Fair enough? Just 2 names. And then, of course, any feedback that you can have about the class is greatly appreciated. So I want you to take away from this. There's, let's say, 50, 60 people in the room. You all put 2 down. I walk away with 120 opportunities. Do you see that I didn't say put down the name of someone who wants to buy, sell, or refinance? That would take like mind control, like tricks, like mind control. So I think a lot of times when you guys are asking for referrals, do you know anyone looking to buy or sell? Well, how the hell are they supposed to know? Unless they're like their deep best friends. But if you ask them, do you know someone who's renting that's probably sick and tired of their rent going up 10% every year? Someone you really, really care about? Could they give you a name faster? And do you know someone who already owns a home currently? And for you guys, it won't be for refinancing. For you guys, it's we just want to let them know what their home value is because it's really valuable feedback right now. And that could be someone who's looking to upsell or upsize. We have to point, we can't just tell them where to click. We have to actually take their hand on the mouse and we have to move it and then click it for them. And then the fortune is on the follow-up. Fair enough? So I really want us to think about lead generation, lead conversion. So without further ado, Stephen Thomas.
Winter fun photos. This you're listening about 90 minutes after it goes live on the MLS. You guys feel this? Finally found a house in my price range. When you get a full price offer in this market, are you kidding me? That's insultingly low. Good luck. A return phone call from me. Buyers looking at 2022 home prices. Isn't that great? Sorry, Dallas fans. Let's see. Clients, we'd like to submit an offer on the property we saw 2 weeks ago. Me, fantastic. Get in. What do you mean best and final by 7 p.m.? My showing is at 6:30. So anyways, here's my introduction. I'm a quantitative economics decision sciences major from UC San Diego in La Jolla. 30 years in the business, Orange County native, Cap Valley High School grad, right up the street from here, actually. 9 kids. I brought the 6 on the right. My wife brought the 2 on the left. I adopted hers. She adopted mine. This one actually just got married. And then, of course, we had bonus Zeke. He turns 4 next year. I mean, next month. Next year. So, yeah. It's gone by fast. We've been all over the press from the Financial Times of London when Warren Buffett sold a house in Laguna Beach all the way to the New York Times, everywhere in between. And it reports in housing, your local real estate snapshot. That is our company. And it's really about bringing strength and power back to you. How many people here are subscribers? So you can see a fair amount of hands. This is really what it's about is ask any of them with their hands up. They'll tell you it really makes a difference as a tool in their business and in helping to explain what's going on because everybody has an opinion on real estate. Everybody. Everybody thinks that they are a housing analyst until they meet a housing analyst. And there's strength to that because if they have an angle that they're looking for in the marketplace, they can find somebody that's going to go ahead and back them up, which is dumb because that's not a way to operate at all. So I don't reflect on the past sales data. I don't really talk that much about it because it's in the past. I do include it because so many people asked for it, but I really don't talk about it much unless I see something that's absolutely unbelievable that I have to talk about. Because you can't really plan based upon past sales. Instead, going forward, what is the inventory? What's the supply of homes? So supply and demand. I look at available number of homes. Demand is a little snapshot, last 30 days worth of escrow activity. So that's what we're looking at, supply, demand. And then from supply and demand, I can get you the speed of the market. You guys know what the speed of the market is right now. You have no supply. So the speed of market is warp speed. I don't care what anybody has said in papers. I look at this stat and I can tell you the market is way more insane than they're talking about, period. And that's just because that's what it kind of says. So that's what I'm following. And then the reports are used. Gosh, I think I can hear myself. Okay, I'll mute myself. That's better. So, because we're on Zoom as well, we're being recorded. They're used for the listing presentation. They're used for price reductions. The reports, they're also used to get buyers off the fence. It's hard to believe, but buyers go on the fence regularly. It's not a good time. It's the top of the market. Remember the Great Recession. Things are going to wait for the market to go down 20%. I've heard it all. And I've actually heard it from agents as well. Why do I hear myself? Let's try that again. Okay. I've heard this before. Hang on just a second. I have to actually go into here and go there and select microphone. Hang on, I apologize for this. But for some reason I can hear myself. All right, I'll just have to ignore myself, so I apologize. Anyways, let's do this. All right, sorry. And it's just about setting expectations so that you guys can do more transactions, that kind of stuff. We have reports that dot all over Southern California. Somebody asked me if I'm expanding someplace else. Yeah, we are. We're going to be in the Bay Area in May. And then a year from now, we'll be in the Phoenix area and the Nevada area as well, Vegas. And we dot right now 5 Southern California counties. And one of the most recent ones that we have is called Unprecedented Start. That was the most recent article that I wrote that came out actually for San Bernardino Riverside today. Orange County Riverside and Orange County, San Diego, and Los Angeles got theirs last week. So the thing comes out every other week, but this is the most recent one, Unprecedented Start, because I thought last year was an insane start. This year, more insane than last year. And I could see it coming, and it actually exceeded my expectations, which is not good if you're wanting inventory. Because I said we're going to drill down below 1,200. We drilled down below 1,000 homes on the market at the beginning of this year. And so reportsonhousing.com, that's where you go to subscribe. And we have a bunch of links at the bottom that you can utilize. And everything's from, can't really throw up the whole entire article on social media and all that stuff, but we have excerpts and a lot of charts and things like that. We have infographics and social media posts. Comes out every 2 weeks, $15 per month, $150 per year. It's a month free. If you sign up utilizing this, I have these for you to sign up. They're inside my little black folder. Housing crash. So has anybody heard recently, are people still talking about housing crash? Man, because I live in a world where I keep on talking about not being a housing crash, yet it still occurs, and people are Googling it all the time. It makes me, there's this guy on Facebook YouTube, that's all he wants to talk about because he's trying to get clicks. He's up to 30,000 people per episode, and he drops like 3 episodes per week. And just talking about all the reasons it's going to crash. And every time I watch it, it infuriates me because there are not any good reasons why it's going to crash. So housing crash, this is me. I really am. I am a geek. I don't understand it, but I was born with the love for numbers. I'm a quantitative economics, decision sciences major, and I wear that proudly because I like data. This is what I do all the time. Ask my wife. I'll try to talk to her about some of the stuff, but it'll just put her right to sleep. But I'll read it all the time when I'm my waking moments. I don't read enough books. I spend way too much time doing this. And this is jumbo jet. This is what the cockpit looks like. Does anybody know how to fly this? I certainly don't know how to fly this. And I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to get behind the wheel and pretend to know how to fly it. This is my jumbo jet cockpit. Stop getting behind the wheel and telling me what's going to happen in the marketplace, or telling everybody, and you have no credentials whatsoever at all. You might have got rich once as an investor, or the guy at The Big Short, if that guy says one more thing about the economy, he has been the biggest perma bear out there. He's permanently bearish, constantly, and he's always wrong. Eventually he'll be right, and he'll talk about how right he was, but that guy is a little infuriating to listen to. And so just because they're wearing a suit like this does not mean that they have the credentials to talk about the housing market. That's it, period. So don't listen to them unless they have the credentials, and tell your clients the same thing when they're listening to these people. Instead, there's a ton of social media misinformation that's out there, plenty. They can find somebody that's going to say it's either great or it's going to snow, it's going to rain, it's sunny. It doesn't matter. They'll find whatever it is that they want to hear. And that's social media misinformation. So I'm asking you to please ignore these people. Just ignore them, because they make absolutely no sense. And if you want to know why, don't throw me one. I'll tell you exactly why it makes no sense. They're infuriating to listen to for me. And the reason that everybody's having a problem is because home values have done what? Skyrocketed upwards, right? Well, that can't be right. It can't continue to do this. Everything's 7 figures now. That's not right. Well, when my parents bought their house in 1972, it was $12,000. And they were stretching to make the payment, and they were scared to death to make the payment. And now look at them. That same house is worth about $1 million today. It was $20,000 in the 70s. So stop focusing on just the price. And that's what people do, because this is Case Shiller talking about price. That was prior to the bubble, and this was 2012, 2013. This is what values did. They went up to about 15% year over year, and then they went down fast. What happened? We had interest rates that rose substantially in 2013. That was the beginning of tapering. That's where they stopped playing in the mortgage-backed securities market. So then this happened. This was 2020, 2021. We got up to almost 20%, 19.8% year over year nationally. Then it came down, and the most recent stat is 18.9%. It's going to float down to about 15%, and by the end of the year, about 10%. This is year over year where the prices of homes are going. So people focus on that. They remember that, but they really remember that, the Great Recession. I don't like this. I don't. I'm a homeowner. Fantastic. I bought my house in 2019. I was talking to Chris. Bought it for $1.3 million. Felt I was. I kept telling my wife, "This is a great time to buy." She goes, "Well, then buy." So we bought, and now the house is worth over $2 million. But I think that's great. However, it's just monopoly money at this point. Still making the same payment, actually less of a payment, because I did refinance once. And but values are way up. It's great, except I don't like how fast it's going and how it's continuing to go up. It can't go up forever like that, right? Don't worry, it'll get to a point where it no longer goes up like that, but that doesn't mean it's going to crash. It means we'll slow. And there's a lot of fear in the market because we all remember this, the Great Recession. You know what that was like. Either happened to me, or it happened to your neighbor, it happened to family, friends, somebody. They know what that burn feels like. So yeah, that's painful, but that doesn't mean that we're going to repeat it just because it was the most recent, actually, 2 back recessions, because we did have a recession during this pandemic. It lasted all of about 2 months is what they said. That's how long the recession lasted. So they're still talking about buying at the top of the market, at the peak. Everybody's still saying, I don't want to buy at the peak. And remember what it was like during the Great Recession? Those people that did buy at the peak right before, they got burned badly. That doesn't mean that we're about to peak right now because it continues to go up. And I keep on hearing this. Well, last time no one said that the market was going to come down. That's baloney. Let me show you what I was looking at in a minute. But this is what we have. We had a credit bubble prior to the Great Recession. This is where this is purchase application index. This is how fast values are going up. How fast people were getting loans. 2 dogs got loans. It's a true story in the United States, and a bunch of dead people. These are people with Social Security numbers that purchased. There's a lot of fraud going on back then, but dead people did get loans. So that's a problem. And we all know of all the different problems. Everybody was buying everything with adjustable rate mortgages too. We're not doing that now. So consider the differences. And then we've got this. This is what we call a boring line. This is a trend line that's boring. It's slightly going up because millennials are now purchasing. So it's been going up and up slowly but surely. And this is just a normal trend line. It's nothing ugly. This is people that are purchase applications. You could see it dropped like crazy at the beginning of the pandemic, then went way up, and then it came back down a little bit lower. Now it's following what? Trend. That's what it is. Boring trend line. And this was prior to the Great Recession. You see on the left-hand side, that's a mixed bag of credit. That's these are mortgage people that are purchasing property, what their credit scores look like. Mixed bag on the left. On the right-hand side, survival of the fittest. Who's been able to purchase the most? Cash, people with big down payments, people with money in the bank that are able to make up the difference if there's not an appraisal issue. People with good credit, good jobs. Doesn't sound like anybody that's in a hurry to move if the market was suddenly going to shift. This is not prior to the Great Recession. And there's a supply and demand thing that I could see coming like this good old locomotive, right? Good old fashioned locomotive. And let's go ahead and admit this person because she's in the middle of my presentation. Oh, no, Kimberly. She's joining us. Hey, Kimberly, how are we doing? Full room. We miss you, Kimberly. So now I got to click on this. There we go. And this is what we've got over here. See, this is what I saw beforehand. And I knew that in the fall of 2005, we had a problem. In the fall of 2005, all of a sudden, we went from, at the beginning of the year, 5,000 homes in the market, and we reached 8,000 homes in the market. You say, that's not that big of a difference, but there was a problem. You could see and feel the difference in the marketplace, and we did not peak until Thanksgiving. Normally, in the inventory, we peak between July and August during the summer, not in Thanksgiving. If that happens at Thanksgiving, there's a problem. So that's what I'm rooting for this year. I want a Thanksgiving peak so that there's a little bit of an issue and things can slow down. And then in 2006, we went from 7,000 homes on the market at the very beginning of the year, all the way up to 16,000 homes on the market. Remember how many homes I said we went below 1,000 at the beginning of this year? 16,000. And then in 2007, we got to 18,000 homes on the market. And these would have been higher, these Himalayas, but we did different things to motivate buyers to buy, and it was first-time home buyer tax credits and things like that. And it really did work because I followed the numbers. And this is where we are right now. You draw a line across, and that's just dumb. That's a supply glut. That's a supply crisis. It's not even a supply crisis. It's worse than a supply crisis. It really is. We right now have to push the housing market along because we ran out of gas. We don't have homes on the market. It's bad here and it's bad in San Diego. Good news for San Diego is they added 600 homes in the first 2 weeks. And they got all the way down to 1,200 homes. So 600 is a big, giant change, right? I'm hoping for the same for Orange County. The Great Recession, over 40% of all mortgages had less than 10% equity. This is the stat that everybody doesn't remember, but you can kind of remember it. 28% of all homes were fully underwater. Fully underwater, 28%. I can't wait for them to drop this new one because this is old. But forbearance continues to drop. This is Black Knight. They've been off for about 4 weeks now, enjoying the holidays. I can't wait for them to update their charts. They're a little late. They said, we're just going to run ours not normal in January. So it should drop. I thought today, but today's another holiday, so it's probably tomorrow that this thing comes out. I love when they drop because then I can update everything. It's forbearance about 4 weeks ago was at 891,000. It went all the way down below 1 million, 891,000 people across the United States are currently in forbearance. 93% of them have at least 10% equity, which means what? They can sell. Why? Because values have come up so much that it doesn't matter if they've been skipping payments. It's been going up so fast, it's outrode how much they're behind in payments. So 4.3 million was the peak in June of 2020, total number of people in forbearance at one time. 7.7 million people took advantage of forbearance. Total. That's huge, right? And then if you look at this, these are the number of people. This is what I'm waiting for them to come out with because this is off a little bit. I can't wait to show you the updated slide because it's been the same for months upon months upon months. The number of people that have come out, 6.7 million exited. The number that are performing is 59%, 4 million. That means that they either paid it in full or they did an installment plan or they did a deferment to the end where at the end of the 30 years they keep going. Then the number that paid off is 1.9 million, another 28%. Do the math. That's 87%. I either paid it off, which means they probably sold, or they're performing. It was at 90% because there's this one piece of the pie that got bigger, and it's this one. A ton of people came out of forbearance recently. and they're all working with the workout unit. 543,000, 8%. This was 5%, now it's 8%. That's the difference. The numbers that are truly delinquent and no longer working with workout unit, that means they're in trouble. 264,000 across the United States out of 6.7 million. And then the number that are now in foreclosure, because now the green light is on for foreclosure, is 38,000 across the United States. That's it, 38,000, not the millions that people talked about. So sorry, no foreclosure wave. It's not happening. It's just not going to happen. There will be more this year because they turned it on. So it's going to go from like 1 to like 10, and it will say 1,000% increase. That's going from like 0 to something. So be very wary of the percentages that are going to be thrown out there. And there's too healthy of a housing stock. All the homeowners have plenty of equity, good jobs. You need a bad job market and a bad recession at the same time for values to come down. It's just not going to happen. We're right now in an expansion mode. They're trying to slow things down a little bit. Have you seen that? That's what the Fed's doing. They're monkeying with everything. So no way, no bubble, no crash. Instead, what I like to refer to as unhealthy. I'm tired of talking about it being unhealthy because it really is. It's just an unhealthy market. It's like eating Super Bowl every single day. I mean, it's good for about a half. The second half, who's eating a lot during the second half of the Super Bowl? Not too many people. So it's just unhealthy. And that's the only thing I can say about it. I'm sorry. I can't describe it as a crash or a bubble. So where are rates headed? Well, look at this. Oh, man. Well, it does happen at the beginning of the year. This was the beginning of last year. It did that same spread as it did in about 2 weeks. But, you know, recently, what have you seen happen to the 10-year and 3-year mortgages? It's actually flattened out as far as the 10-year treasury is what I'm looking at. So I'm going to talk about the 10-year treasury, but this is where 3.45%. COVID-19 started there in March 2020, middle of March 2020. And we hit 17 record lows in interest rates. The 17th was the beginning of last year, January of 2021. First week hit 2.65%. Then it went up to 3.13%. But I want you to know that even at 3.45%, this is a fantastic rate prior to COVID even existing. But this is the highest since the end of March 2020. This interest rate that we're hitting right now. And this is 10-year treasury. Why does everybody talk about the 10-year treasury and talk about mortgages all the time? Because the appetite for the investor that's looking at 10-year treasuries is the same appetite for the investor looking at 30 mortgages. So when the 10-year treasury goes up, mortgages go up. When the 10-year treasury goes down, mortgages go down. It's that simple. And you can find really fun charts on CNBC. This is the prettiest one that you can download and all that stuff. It's pretty nice. I like to follow it. And you can go back in time for a very, very long time. And this is just start of last year. You could see we went all the way from 2.65% up to 3.13%. And that's where the 10-year treasury was below 1 and made its way all the way up to, it was right about a little bit, 1.71% on the 10-year treasury. You can see we're higher than where we were back then. That's where this is. It's a little bit higher. And then it went down. I was excited that it was going up because I knew the only thing that was going to slow down our market were interest rates and 10-year treasuries to go up, because we have to have them go up high enough where some buyers go, see ya, I'm not going to play. And then you get demand that starts to fall so the inventory can rise, the market time rises. So I was stoked. We even wrote an article about the big shift, and then all of a sudden this happened. It went from 3.18% interest rates all the way down to 2.77% by the time we got to August. So that's not what I wanted at all. And our market was, I knew that we were done for the year once we get to 2.77%. Yeah, and then it went back up, but who cares? Too late. Our spring market was already done, and so pretty much summer as well. And then 10-year treasury went down, then it went up, then it went down, then it went up. What's going on right now? Omicron? Who even knew what Omicron was in this room? I'm be honest with you. I did not know what Omicron was prior to, I had to look it up. I didn't even see Omicron. Is that really Greek alphabet? I haven't heard of Delta, Omicron. I haven't heard of it. So anyways, Omicron, inflation, and the Fed. The Fed is the one that messed with things most recently. Wall Street Journal leaked an article prior to them releasing it on the Tuesday after the new year, the first Tuesday of January. And they talked about the Fed minutes in the middle of December, and it was a big change to the Fed strategy. I'll tell you, there's been a lot of volatility because the Fed's making their way out of it. So there's a lot more volatility in it. And the spread between the 10-year and the 3-year mortgages back back to where it should be, and that's because Fed's no longer playing. So there's volatility. We've already seen it at the beginning of this year. And inflation, this whole thing, it's not transitory. The Fed was talking about it being transitory for a super long time. And at first we were catching on and we're saying, yeah, it could be transitory. But then as we started to get towards the Christmas, we knew that it was an issue. And they knew prior to that, but they didn't stop talking about it not being transitory until we got to middle of December. And what's that? Transitory means temporary. So it was a temporary change in the, it's supposed to be temporary inflation. This goes beyond temporary when it's as big as it is right now. And all of a sudden my clicker has decided it doesn't want to do it. There we go. So then we have the hurry up offense. That's what we're dealing with right now. So the Federal Reserve is behind 8 ball. Now they're doing everything all at once. So they're unwinding their mortgage-backed securities and they're talking about raising the short-term rate. Raising the short-term rate is not 30-year mortgages. It is automobiles and credit card debt. Do not get them mixed up, because when when the Federal Reserve raises that short-term rate, a lot of times the interest rates actually drop, and they have dropped over time. So just know that they don't go hand in hand. And Fed tapering. So they're going to talk about, went from $40 billion per month, which is what they were doing all the way from the beginning of the pandemic. They were buying 40 billion new. 40 billion, then now they're going to go down to 35 in November, then 30 billion, and then January 20. And then, but what they don't talk about is this mortgage-backed security reinvestment. What they do is when somebody pays off their mortgage and they get the money back, or people paying their monthly payments, they get the money back. They got all this money. They're going, what do we do with this? We'll just put it right back in the system. So besides doing this brand new, they're back in the system at the tune of $60 billion per month, more than the new stuff. But then what they talked about in their Fed minutes, which Wall Street Journal leaked, was this, that they're actually going to, they're going to bring down the mortgage-backed securities down from 20 to 10 to 0 to 0. Now they're no longer buying brand new. And as far as reinvestment, they said this took them 2 years last time to even start doing this. This time they said they're going to start in March because they're behind the 8 ball. Now they're going from 60, look in March, 50. They said they might do April. I don't really care. The market's now absorbing what they've said that they're doing, their change. So we had a kind of like a way that they were going to do things from what they did last time. But this time they changed it. They said, we're going to do it faster. So 50 to 40. So they're doing a lot of things all at the same time. And then the market just went haywire and you saw 10-year treasuries jump up. And know that COVID totally is the biggest disruptor. It disrupted everything. You think that the supply chain, we knew that there was a supply chain problem the moment we had a TP problem. That foreshadowed that we were going to have a supply chain problem. And sure enough, that is exactly what's happened. So COVID is the big disruptor in everything. It disrupted real estate. It disrupted this as well. And supply chain, there are problems. It's not just trucks. It's not just these ships off of Long Beach Harbor. It's every aspect of it. There's so many cogs to this wheel and everything's broken. They can't even make things fast enough anymore. They don't even want to make the automobile chips anymore because they're too cheap. They don't make any money on them, so they're not making them. Instead, now Ford has to go around and they have to make their own chips. They can't buy them. They have to make them. And that's why you're looking at these new car lots and they're empty because they're not making chips. They don't have chips to build their cars. And there's a supply and demand problem with commodities. When you have the same amount of demand, but now you don't have as many goods, what happens to prices? Go up. That's what's happened. And microchips, big giant thing to blame. I told you about the cars, but it's also used cars because now there's a run on used cars. And then the rental car companies, they got rid of all their fleets. And now at the beginning of COVID, now they want their fleets back. They can't buy new, so they all bought used. It's a big problem. Giant. It's the biggest piece of the inflation puzzle. It's a big, giant piece. Guess what's starting to be a big piece of the inflation puzzle? Rents. Because they take into consideration rents, not mortgages. Rents are now. So we're going to be dealing with this inflation thing for a little bit of time here. And gas. So throw in on top of that, at the same exact time, let's just go ahead and jack the prices of gas up too. That's a totally different thing, a totally different animal that all of a sudden now everybody wants to drive. And so there you go. And now we have an issue with gas. But what am I most concerned about? Because that supply chain problem will fix itself in the long run. I'm most concerned about jobs. I was concerned about it prior to COVID, and now it's back. This is where unemployment's at right now. It's at 3.9 million, which is January of 2019 levels. So stop talking about unemployment, because January 2019, was anybody worried about unemployment? No, I wasn't, and I'm an economist. So how about this one? This is the Great Resignation. Everybody's quitting their jobs. Why? Because now they can quit, go work someplace else, make more money. So this is why that's happening. Look at this. The number of jobs available has breached 10 million. There's 10 million jobs available, which there are fewer unemployed in the people that resigned than there are jobs. And this is what's happened. So we drilled down to below where we were prior to the pandemic, and this is the problem. We have 0.7 workers for every job opening. That means you have less than one person for every job opening. That's a problem, because what does that put? That puts pressure on what? Wages. You're going to be paying more for iced tea. You're going to be paying more for beer. You're going to be paying more for burgers. You're going to be paying more for everything. And that's just what happens when you have to pay them more, the workers. In turn, how do you pass on that you have to pay them more? Jack up prices. And that's the inflation worry that I was starting to talk about the middle of last year, is more of the employment side. So, but what's a good hedge against inflation? Well, we do. That's it. And we got to show this to everybody, why they need to continue to be in the game as a renter. I don't care that mortgage rates are higher. They can refinance when they get lower down the road, because they will be lower down the road. And get into it, because then you fix your payment. Fix it. It's fixed. It's fantastic. And then when you're able to refinance down the road to a lower payment, well then good, fantastic. Now you're doing even better. Now you're a rock star. And interest rates are going to float between 3 and 3.75%. And this is with 1 point. And the reason why I do it with 1 point is because that's follows that chart that I had. So the Freddie Mac's primary mortgage market survey goes back 51 years. Back in the day, you had to pay a point and you had to put 20% down. So in order to compare apples to apples, it's with 1 point. So I always talk about everything with 1 point. So some lenders are going, what is he talking about? But that's with 1 point, 3 to 3.75%. If you don't pay a point, you're looking at 0.25% higher typically. So I'm looking at 3.25% to 4%. So we're right at we're not quite close enough to what I'm talking about, which means we could go higher than where we are today. But we're going to have a very, very hard time getting anywhere higher than this, because that is a 10-year treasury right at 2%. It doesn't like to go above 2%. And we're going to have a hard time getting there. And know that the lower the rate, the more insane the seller's market is, kind of like what we have right now. And the higher the rate, the more we're just going to be a seller's market, because we have an inventory problem. So we're going to need a lot more inventory for it to ever be a buyer's market, and that's not going to happen at all this year. So the housing market, insane, right? Absolutely insane. Supply and demand, reverse of a supply glut. We have a supply catastrophe. This was my word last year I coined for the supply crisis. It's supply catastrophe because we're out of juice completely. For all those people that think that there's an economic cycle every 10 years in real estate, it's not true. I've never seen it. I don't know how. I've been looking at it for it since the 1980s. It doesn't exist. So if you have somebody that thinks that they know about it, have them contact me to educate me, because I have no idea what they're talking about. Instead, there's a cycle every year that we have called seasonality. We didn't have it during the pandemic. We had it last year. Spring is the best. The number one month for homes coming on the market is what month? Not March. Everyone thinks it's March because they think it's spring, but that's still winter all the way till, it's definitely not February. It's May. Somebody said May. It's May. May is number one. Number one for all Southern California and all markets across the United States. There's just a few that don't follow that. We eventually get there. So May is number one, and either April or June is number two. And there's a seasonality to it. So spring is the best, and it's also demand is the most. That means the number of escrows happens during the spring. Typically, it's second half of April to the end of May is where we peak. And then second is summer. That's where you have a whole bunch of kids that are with you. You go on vacation, you go to the beach, you go to the pool. There start to be distractions. We'll slow down a little bit. This all revolves around around the kids, because at the end of summer, they go back to school. So summer's like good, but it's not as great as spring. Then it's autumn. Then things really slow down. Kids went back to school. Then it's holidays. And this is where the inventory plunges and so does demand. What's the month that has the least number of homes that come on the market? December. And second is November. So we just had it. And either third or fourth is January. So these aren't the best months for homes coming on the market. I'm so sorry. You're wondering, why is it so slow right now? It's called January, winter. Go do your New Year's resolutions. For Pete's sake, everybody's looking at me like whites in their eyes, like, what's going to happen? Homes are going to come on the market and you're going to do transactions. Just go get it. Go do your stuff you got to do to go get it when it comes, and it's going to come. That's it. And then you get to winter market. That's where we are today. Winter market. That's where inventory's flat. Nothing's going to happen with inventory right now. Not in March either, because March is not the best month. It's like the fourth or fifth. It's just because it's only the second half that it's still winter. My brother and sister live in Wisconsin. It still snows in March, and they hate it. By then, they're no longer happy with snow. Demand climbs like crazy, and you guys get to Super Bowl. Every year, you say the same thing. The market's so great, you need to come on the market right now. This is the best time to come on the market. And they're saying, no, I don't want to come on the market. I want to come on the market when? May. They want to come on during the spring. We do everything based upon the kids. There's stuff that happens in between, but that by the line share, that's pretty much what people like to do. So Orange County supply. Yeah, we talked about it. Pretty low, right? Yeah, really low. And I got to get rid of this thing up to the top. It's driving me bananas here. Let me just get rid of it real quick. All I have to do is go more. Somebody has to do another one of these Zoom updates so that you can make this permanent when we're doing our hybrid meetings. For Pete's sake, January 6th, 1,100 homes on the market on January 6th. That was actually up 3% from December 23rd. I do it every 2 weeks. That's why the numbers are weird. It's not the 1st and the 15th because that's a dumb way of doing it. I got to do it on Thursdays. But it went up 3% or 28 homes. And now I played with it. Now I got to hit the arrow. Lowest level ever was January 1st, 954. Congratulations, you guys. We made it under 1,000 homes. I thought 3,100 was too low. I thought last year was too low. We've done it. And Alto's research says we're going to break another low next year. I don't believe it. I don't think we're going to get there. Last year, we were at 2,633. That's 139% higher than where we are today. That means more than double, making its way towards 2.5 times where we are today. 2,633 sounds dumb, doesn't it? But 1,100 sounds even dumber. And 3-year average prior to COVID, I like to show you where we were 2017 and 2019, average it out. Where were we? 4,665 homes, which is 324% higher, which is quadruple where we are today. Inventory is finally rising, though. Has a well, it was. Man, yeah, you guys stop. That revolving door of escrow is really driving me crazy. It's on the market, it's off the market. It's on the market, it's off the market. So it was rising last week when I was earlier doing it. That's why it says I've got to delete that. Sorry about that. Thought it was rising there for a minute. And then you guys placed it all in escrow. We were at 1,096 by the time I crunched the numbers on Thursday. And so where are we going to go from here? Kind of flat. Like I said, demand doesn't really do much. And then it's going to go up once we get to the middle of March when more homes come on the market. It's called spring. But if interest rates continue to go up, which I don't think they're going to continue to rise like they did over the course of the first couple weeks. But if they do, because this is where we're going to go, and we're going to peak somewhere here. And this is what happens if interest rates continue to rise. We will actually get liftoff because demand will start to slow. And some of the knucklehead sellers out there that like to grossly overprice won't get their price. They'll linger on the market and will build inventory based upon that. Right now, they get away with it. And if they do that, then we get to March and then it goes up further. So this is actually what I'm rooting for. I'm so sorry, but this is what we need in order to get back to some semblance of health. We're not even going to get close to healthy, but better than where we are. Where are all the homes on the market? Well, if you compare it prior to COVID, 2020 and 2021 combined, we're missing 5,158 homes that usually come on the market if I compare it to right prior to COVID. And I've actually go way back. I go like back 8 years for fun, but that sounds dumb when I'm saying 8 years. But 3-year average prior is down 5,158 homes. So we're missing homes. Not like San Diego County, which is missing 12% or 12,000 homes for the first 2 years. They really have a problem. It's actually really eaten into their number of potential deals. We didn't eat into our potential deals because we closed more sales last year than we have since 2005. But right now, we're eating into deals. Our inventory is too low right now. So we're caught up to San Diego County as far as being a ridiculous count. COVID-19 is not the real reason for this. CAR was trying to spoon feed us this, that once this is done, this COVID thing, everybody's going to place their home on the market. I don't buy it. I don't. This is the problem. It's where will I go? If I'm a seller, I'm a what then? After I sell, I'm a buyer. I don't want to play. I don't want to be a buyer. I heard about how hard that is. No way. I'm perfectly fine just sitting back, checking my Zillow every week. Thank you for laughing. Usually I say that and it's like, gosh, that was a pun intended. Come on, you guys have ammunition forever on Zillow now. Congratulations. You guys are bringing up Zillow? They relied on their own algorithms and totally, before they got them. Orange County demand, nutty. The fuel are these low interest rates. It's okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. If you have to get up, I understand. This is real estate. I'm a third generation broker. We get up at the middle of dinner and say, peace, gotta go. Is it 4th of July? I'll be back in an hour. I gotta show a house. I know what that's like. Seriously. Don't worry about it. And I've got lots of kids. They do that to me anyways because they say dumb things all the time. And I get mad at them and then they leave the dinner table. Government-backed mortgages up to $970,800. But notice that they're now going to throw points at this. This is high balance, right? We could talk to the experts in here. It's going to be, if you put 20% down, you're not going to pay as many points, like 1/8 of a point or something like that. But if you want 5% down, which you can do, 5% down, like buy $1 million house, put 5% down on $1 million house. That's only 50 grand. $200,000 house back in the day, they used to have to put down 20% down. That's 40 grand. It's almost the same thing. Can you believe it? We're making it very easy for people to get loans, which helps in the demand side of the equation. We have this happening right now, more than ever. Auction-like atmosphere, homes selling for above their asking price. And this is done every month. Compliments of California Association of Realtors. They're good buddies of mine in the economics department. We like to talk about economics. Pretty fun. And this is what's happened. Right now, we're at 59.2% of all homes in the state of California that closed in November sold above their asking price. 59.2. It was above 70% for the months of May, June, and July. Then it started to creep down, and people go, oh, slowing down. No, it's not. It's called seasonality. It happens every single year. And guess what you're dealing with right now? I can guarantee it's higher than 59% right now are selling above their asking price because there's nothing on the market. And I've heard the ridiculous values that things are going for right now. So I have way too many war stories from people right now. So 11 days is the median time on market for everything in November. And 101.4% was sales to list price ratio for the month of November across the California, every price range. So demand, this is the last 30 days worth of escrow activity. So it's just a little snapshot. January 6th, we were at 1,295, which is down 19% from the end of December, which is normal. We always go down like that. Don't be, January 1st is typically the low. 1,295 down 9%, 19%, down 296. Last year, we were 1,895 at the same point in time. That was a carryover from 2020. We had this happen. So we had this demand that was really high and it carried over and spilled over for the first month and a half. Year over year, we're going to start to be able to really compare mid-February on. And I think that we're going to go quite a little bit below it because we just don't have as many homes on the market compared to where we were last year. So we just can't place them in escrow. And 3-year average prior to COVID is at 1,391, which is 7% higher than where we are today. It's the first time this has ever happened where it's higher, the pending sales from comparing it to prior to COVID. And today we're at 1,337, so it's actually gone up 3% from January 6th. I crunched the numbers again this Thursday. And then where's demand going to go? It's going to skyrocket up right now. You're going to place a lot into escrow. There's just not going to be a lot of homes on the market because everything that comes on, it's like a revolving door, will go right into escrow. And we'll peak somewhere in between here in middle of April to the end of May, right where kids start graduating. That's where summer really begins. And so that's where it's going to peak. And then how fast is this market moving? Well, it's moving really fast. January 6th, we were at 25 days, went up 5 days in a 2-week period. That was the low point. Now, as a matter of fact, the lowest reading ever was that 2 weeks prior, so 3 weeks ago now, 20-day expected market time for all of Orange County. And we had Aliso Viejo had like 4 homes on the market. Ladera Ranch had 3. Ranch Santa Margarita had 3. And we had expected market times of like 7 days, 5 days. Something dumb that I had never, ever crazily seen. And it all happened all at once. Last year, we were at 42 days at this same time period. Do you see the difference? It's way hotter right now. 3-year average is 104 days, which is like a balanced market compared to where we are today prior to COVID. Today, we're still at 25 days. So this is my speedometer. It's backwards, I know, because the lower the number, the faster we're going, kind of like golf. This is great. That sucked. So that's what the deep buyer's market, we were at over 200-day expected market time for the market back during the Great Recession. And that is why we peeled off values. This is why values are screaming, because we're going way, way too fast. And oh, by the way, just because it's not a seller's market doesn't make it a buyer's market. There's something in between called a balanced market that no one talks about. I'm like one of the few economists that even talks about it, because everybody goes, yeah, there'll be a buyer's market. No, there's something in between, guys. We studied it. It's called equilibrium. And the expected market time between here and here is 90 to 60, 60 to 90 right here. And this is a slight seller's market where sellers get to call more of the shots, but values aren't going up much. That was 2019. Below this is a hot seller's market. I had to come up with something new this last year. It was called insane market below 40. Anything below 40 is absolutely insane. And we are so far below that insanity level. Remember, we got down to 20 at the end of the year. Lowest reading ever at the end of December. And where is it going to go from here? It's come down. And it's probably going to go even below 20, I think, unless we have interest rates that continue to zoom up, which I don't think they're going to. So San Juan's at a 39-day expected market time. And San Clemente's at 17 days now. Rancho Mission Viejo's at 35. They were at like 10 days a couple weeks ago. So it slowed down a little bit. This is just the beginning of the year type of thing. With a few properties coming on at the same time. Ladera Ranch at 9 days. Yeah, most ridiculous market on here. Ranch Santa Margarita's at 14 days. Mission Viejo's at 14 days. Aliso Viejo's at 18 days. Laguna Niguel's at 29 days. Dana Point, 40 days. They have higher price ranges, right? And then you got Laguna Beach at 105 days. And 105 days at the very beginning of the year is dumb because their average price is so high, and yet they're on the market for, 3 months for everything. That's the high stuff and the low stuff combined. Home values are skyrocketing. I do not see an end to this. I wish I could talk to you about it. I will talk about it. I talked about before cracks in the market. I won't talk about it until I see it. So when the market's slow, interest rates rise. It happened in 2013 and it happened in 2018. I'll just give you one example. They both did the same thing. Remember how it slowed down in 2018? Do you remember that? Well, interest rates went from 4 to 5%. And so we had, in Orange County, we went from 3,600 homes on the market all the way up to we almost had 7,500. So you can see that that was a big shift. And that also happened in 2013. We had interest rates go from 3 3/8 all the way up to 4.5%. So that's what I'm rooting for. And there is an affordability issue. It's not things are unaffordable. It's less affordable. Things are becoming less affordable. And there's this mortgage rate sensitivity. 10%. This, I'm going to tell you interest rates that happened in the past. You're going to tell me right now, you're going to say, we can't stomach these rates, right? 10% was the year 1990. 8% was the year 2000. 6.35% was just prior to the Great Recession. 5%, we traveled during 2018. We didn't like it. Millennials told me, yeah, 5%. If I ever got above 5%, man, they probably have a point. Sure enough, I looked at the math. They were right. Millennials were right. And because they had never seen interest rates over there. But now it's no longer 5%, it's 4%. And the more we keep on going up in value, it's going to go down, the sensitivity. So keep on screaming upwards, we're just going to be more sensitive to any changes in interest rates down the road. So that's because they do the math and they go, oh, no, And it slows down the market, demand slows down, inventory rises, market times grow larger. That's what I've been rooting for quite some time. So market overview, and then we will forecast. I'll show you what this is. Millennials are buying right now, like crazy. Why? I thought they were strapped with debt. Well, that's because they are leaving the nest of the mom and dad or the multiple roommate situation, and they're finding their mates, they're getting married, they're having babies, and it turns out they have a lot of money in the bank. So don't pick on millennials any longer. They're buying like crazy. As a matter of fact, demographic patch, strongest demographic patch, first-time home buyers ever, 32-year-olds. That's the prime age. Started 2 years ago. Last year was more. This year is more. And it happens for the next 2 years. That's more demand coming. So there you go. If you're 32 years old, you need to get married and have babies because that's everybody else is doing it. So closed sales, that's the red lines. Green lines, yeah, we did more at the end of 2020 than we did in 2020. But who cares? Earlier in the year, we were doing nothing at the beginning of the pandemic. The red is last year. It was the most sales since 2005. You had a heck of a year last year. And luxury is surging. Luxury is absolutely surging. And this is what luxury is doing. Crazy, right? It was so lopsided. And that's not normal. This is 2020. This is 2021. This is 2020 green. That was a record year. 2021 was the red year. And it's a record level, period. Just know it is absolute record. So my definition of luxury was 1.5 million plus. People are going, yeah, Steve, it's no longer 1.5 million. Yeah, it wasn't January 1st. I changed it from 1.25 to 1.5 million. Then last year, something strange happened, and I have to look at the top 10% of the market. Guess what it is today? Congratulations, everybody. It's 2 million plus. 2 million plus your new luxury. And I changed my whole thing. The first report, you'll look at my luxury section, it actually talks about 2 million plus. The last report just came out that if you subscribe today, you'll get it, but it's 2 million plus. And so I actually changed this chart around, and that was at the bottom of that. And now I've introduced a new row, 4 million to 8 million and 8 million plus, because we have to talk about that in Orange County now. And the expected market time for 4 million to 8 million is 159 days. Orange County and 8 million plus is at 210 days. Well, the prior year was at 818 for 8 million plus. So it's a lot hotter. And this is just the beginning of the year. And 2 to 4 million is at 55-day expected market time, which is a hot seller's market in 2 to 4 million. That is unheard of. These are unheard of numbers that I had never seen, and I've been doing this thing since 2004. So there you go. That's handsome looking. And then you got this high cost of renting. Renting is now, there was a lag to it beginning, but there you go. It's skyrocketing right now. And this is the piece of inflation that you're going to see because it's going to be digested in the CPI. So the 2022 forecast, yeah. I don't know. Well, why are you guys looking at me? Is anybody really completely certain as to where we're going? I don't know what lurks around this corner. Yeah, there's a little bit of uncertainty there. So a little bit, yeah, seriously. I had a lot of people tell me Delta, that's it, Delta. Yeah, Omicron, how about that? What about other COVID-19 variants? I don't know. People say it's done with Omicron. Even experts are saying it, scientists. Bill Gates said it. Said we're done after Omicron turns into flu. I'll believe it when I see it. Rates remain low. I'm concerned about that. Washington, D.C. and the Federal Reserve, concerned about them. They're monkeying with us right now. Wages rise too fast. I told you that's very inflationary, and that's what I'm concerned about more in the supply chain. Buyer fatigue. I write lots of reports. I think the next report's going to have to kind of be on buyer fatigue again. Man, they're already getting beat up. Values rise too fast. That's home values. Just worry about that. Unrealistic sellers. So if we get interest rates that go up too, good luck dealing with her or him, because they're going to be like, what do you mean we're on the market for 3 weeks? You said it would sell in a minute. I never said that. You're going to be dealing with that. They're going to be overpriced. They're going to wonder what you do. And they're going to ask, what did you do? You're going to hold an open house every single day until this thing's sold? That's what's going to happen. You're going to be dealing with that. So distress rises slightly. No wave. They'll go from 1 to 10 and understand that the numbers are going to look like I told you, 1,000% increase. Ignore that stuff. It's still going to be low compared to where we were in history prior to the pandemic. Normal housing seasons, normal. Spring's the best. As far as escrow activity. First half will be hot due to limited inventory. That's where we're at right now. But then as rates stick around a little bit, second half slower with higher rates. It's going to slow down just a bit. And record low inventory to start the year. That was my prediction back in September. Boy, did we beat a record. And rise in inventory eclipsing 5,000. Not enough. We're not near our averages, but we're making our way in the right direction. and that's with a bit of higher rates. Demand, recent pending sales down slightly year over year. We're already seeing it in the numbers. And closed sales down 3 to 6% for the year, which means we're not going to be as good as 2021, but better than 2020, somewhere right in between. Luxury continues to soar, but slightly muted compared to 2021 as year progresses. There's going to be a little bit more volatility, and this is really going to affect things in luxury. When there's volatility, luxury does not like it. They don't. And with higher interest rates, also luxury does not like it. They don't get the same deals that they're getting right now. And you think that they don't get loans. Some of them, they get different things. And something happens to their portfolio. There's a lot of things. Volatility does not digest well in luxury land. Increase in move-up sellers. So as we get more inventory, we'll get move-up sellers. So we just need more inventory for that to happen. Buyers motivated by low rates, but not as willing to stretch when we get more inventory. Appreciation in 2022 up 8 to 10%. This might be light. We'll have to see. We're going to do a lot of this in the first several months. We're already doing it right now because the sales to list price ratios right now have been like 2% above the asking price because there's nothing on the market. When you go up 2% really fast, adds up. That's why I did this. That's why CAR did 4 to 5%. And I was going, man, that's really too light because we have no inventory. Interest rates between 3 to 3.75%. Actually changed that. The reason I changed it is because the Federal Reserve changed what they were saying that they were going to do before. So I had to change it. So they're up a little bit higher than where I thought they were going to be. Reportsonhousing.com. That's with 1 point, by the way. Reportsonhousing.com. Go there to subscribe. $15 per month, $150 per year. You get a month free. Sign up utilizing that. And I've got them right up here. Now I can, that's all I have. And now I can answer any questions that you have. Fire hose of information. But when I do have the reports, it's not a fire hose of information, right? It's just I stick to one topic. Not much. I've had some people ask me that. Right now, it's everything. Right now.
Are you doing top two?
It's pretty much across the board. Global homes are doing great. Seriously, you live in one of these San Juan estates. A lot of them are beautiful, and they're going for like double what they were before. So it's across the board. Everything's effectively.
Where we have brokers listing properties like very low in order to get lots of people coming in and lots of offers, how is that affecting those numbers of 1 or 2% above?
See, so I get that question a lot, and a lot recently because now it's more acute than ever before. But you know what? I still subscribe to the philosophy of dealing with the auction the way that you should deal with an auction, and that is price it at or slightly above the last comp. And I know people are going, well, that's too low. Really? So you're at the last comp, it's just an escrow, and that's too low. What's the argument for where it needs to be? I'm going to take a matter of fact, maybe I'll travel to Australia, and it'll be a business expense because they've been doing this auction thing for a long time. And they'll confirm the more the numbers that show up, the better the auction. So it might skew the data, but still, it's right at it's right at where the fair market value is. But who's to tell you where the fair market value is? Because there's so much. My demand reading is just pending sales activity. There's more demand that's out there. It's the demand that's actually in the streets, but you just can't gauge it. You can't. So it's so big right now because of where inventories are at. You really can't gauge where it's at. I need more inventory to gauge it right now. I can't. So it's going to skew the data somewhat, but we've never been here before. Prior to the pandemic, the highest the sales to list price ratio has ever been, the number of the sold above asking price is 40%. We got 70% plus for 3 months last year. So we're dealing, and we're right now way north of that right now. And we're in the slowest time of the year, January, December, and all that stuff. Any other questions? I'll take that as a no.
All right. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it very, very much. Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.